We're welcome back to Geekdom Movies, episode 22. My mask came in, and my orders of hand sanitizers also came in. So yeah, I have a job this week where I got to do deliveries, and so I ordered these online, and they're actually pretty good. They cover my nose pretty well and my face if I needed to, but I usually keep it like this, like cornered in. So that's fun. Ah, I can breathe again. Wow. It's also really tight. It prevents like germs to get in from the side and stuff. So it's a good mask. It's a good mask. If anybody's interested, shoot me a holla and I will send you guys the link to buy those masks in case you need to venture out into the scary world of Corona, and all that fun stuff. But anyways, that's what's going on in my world. We got to see a bunch of new movies. I watched one of our movies I actually watched twice. So that'll let you know how much I liked one of these movies. I wouldn't watch a movie that we were supposed to review twice if I didn't like it. And yeah, we got a lot of movie news stuff that broke this week also. Shannon, what's going on in your world, my friend?
Well, thank you for asking. I've been keeping myself very occupied and busy here at the house. I've had a lot of projects I'm working on. I just started planting a garden. I'm putting in all new doors in the house because they're from the 50s and they're beat up. And I went out in my yard and I dug up some clay, and I actually have good clay to make some pottery with. So I'm very excited about that.
That's awesome. What do you mean clay? Like you just dug clay and you found clay in your backyard?
Yeah, just like clay, like you would use in a pottery class at school. I just found it out in my yard, in the soil. I have very rich soil. So I mashed it up and got most of the dirt out of it. And yeah, I'm gonna make a pot out of it and then figure out how to kiln it in my oven, or how to bake it in my oven. And then here's a little test piece I did. I made a little ball out of it, and it dried just overnight on my counter. It's solid as a rock.
That's amazing.
Hard, so, yeah.
Well, shoot, I'm discovering some clay this week. That's what I'm going to be doing. That sounds awesome. Thanks, Shannon. That sounds exciting. George, how are you doing, my good friend? What's new in your neck of the woods?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just been doing a lot with watching a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows. It's been jam packed with just watching.
That's awesome. Well, what TV shows have you been watching, or movies that are not on the list?
So I just watched Mr. Toad and Ichabod from Disney, and that was kind of a strange one because it's like it starts the story off in Great Britain, and then like the second half of the story, because of Ichabod, of course, then has back here in the US. So it's like I believe it's Bing Crosby who ends up doing the narrating for the second half of it. So it's very different. It's like a two-part movie. It's kind of interesting.
Wow, I don't think I've even heard of that movie. Shannon, you're our Disney expert. Have you heard of this movie?
I've heard of it. Is it animated? It's kind of like Frog and Toad, right? Or like Wind in the Willows. It's a couple of little toads that run around. I don't remember it. I don't remember much about it.
It's kind of strange because it's like two completely separate stories. One is based in Great Britain with Mr. Toad, and he has Mr. Rat and Mr. Badger, and I forgot what the last guy's name was. But yeah, they're all over in Great Britain and helping out Mr. Toad and him basically clearing his name in something. And then the second half of it is Sleepy Hollow, with Headless Horseman and all that. So you might find it interesting, actually.
Yeah, because Ichabod Crane was the name of the Headless Horseman, right?
Is it like
the guy who gets chased, at least?
Is it like the Johnny Depp movie from back in the day, with the movie Sleepy Hollow that it's named after?
That's the story, yeah.
Yep.
Wow, I liked Sleepy Hollow. This intrigues me. I might Might give this a shot. There's a lot of movies I want to catch up on that I've never seen before. Interesting. Well, um, thanks for the update, guys. I'm glad you guys are all safe and no one's sick yet so far. Hoping, knock on woods, that stays that way. But yeah, we got movie news. We got a lot of movie news, actually. We got so much movie news that I don't even know what to do with all of it. Our first bit of news we got today is Hunger Games. That's right. The Hunger Games prequel has been announced, and it will focus on Coriolanus Snow, President Snow, whatever his name was, at age 18, years before he would become the tyrannical president of Panem. Young Cornelius is handsome and charming, and though the Snow family has fallen on hard times, he sees a chance for a change in his fortune when he is chosen to be the mentor for the 10th Hunger Games, only to have his elation dashed when is assigned to mentor the girl tribute impoverished District 12. Francis Lawrence, who directed Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2, will be returning to do to the director's chair. So now, here's the thing. I really enjoyed the first Hunger Games movie. I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed the second Hunger Games movie even. I thought that was great. I hated Mockingjay. I hated the entire plot of Mockingjay. I actually, if you told me to like remember anything from part 1 and 2 of Mockingjay, I couldn't even tell you. I think I remembered one part from Mockingjay. I think like Jennifer Lawrence's character's sister dies at some terrorist protest or something like that, or some kind of protest. That's all I really remember. I don't even know how it all ended. So for me, this is not that exciting. In fact, I don't think there's any reason. Like, I'm so sick of this stupid prequel for Harry Potter, The Adventures of whatever his name is, and now we're doing this. Like, I feel like Hollywood, like the only reason it's doing it is because Hunger Games is a big, big, like, you know, franchise, and they want to keep making money. So what do you guys think of this story of the Hunger Games coming to the big screen with the prequel? Shannon, let's go to you first.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was asking for this. Hunger Games is kind of played out. Like you said, I don't remember a thing from Mockingjay Part 1 or 2, and I even read the book, so I've gone through this twice. But the first couple movies are great, like you said. So I don't know who's asking for this prequel except for Hollywood and the author. So I'm glad the author will make some more money. What's her name? Susan Collins, I think.
Hey, she's better than the writer for Twilight, at least. Yeah, George, what about you? Have you seen the Hunger Games? What do you think of this news?
Yeah, so I watched the Hunger Games. I really did like the first two as well, and the I was starting to get interested in it for the remaining part, but then at the end it just fell to drama, and I just couldn't handle it. So there was it. Man, I was so disappointed in some of the things that happened during the last two Hunger Game movies. Well, at least Mockingjay Part 1 and 2. Um, they they there were certain plot problems with them that I really thought they could have done a much better job writing, and yeah, extreme disappointment in that. But I think I don't know. I'm a little excited to hear about this just because Snow was an interesting character. And so like he had a decent amount of depth to him, and they never really explained him very much. So I think this will be a very interesting movie, but at the same time, yeah, I'm sure this is just a money grab for the studios.
Yeah, I just like you both said. I mean, maybe the trailer will drop and it'll be one of the greatest trailers, and we'll all get really hyped about a prequel to Hunger Games. I don't think so, but hey, like they haven't even started filming yet. Also the story of Snow, like I don't really care about Snow. He's the bad guy. Like, why would I? Like, it's like the Anakin storyline from Star Wars. Like, Or would you want to go back and watch? No, I like the prequels. I can't even compare the two. I would not care about this. I cared about Darth Vader's backstory a lot, actually. So that kind of backfired. But yeah, like Snow, like he's not even that interesting of a character. He just says menacing things and then he just disappears, just it's not really an interesting character. But again, we'll see what happens. We'll keep you guys posted as more news comes. Maybe they'll hire somebody really cool that's like a young and hip actor that's going to be interested, and that might get people interested. I don't know. Anyways, moving on to our next news, we got the animated movie that I'm sure everybody was going to line up and see in theaters and advanced. I'm just kidding. I don't know how many people are actually excited about the story. But yeah, the animated Scooby-Doo film Scoob will bypass theaters and premiere directly on digital platforms. Just like, as we know, Trolls 2 that we reviewed last week. Excuse me. And premiere directly on digital platforms. Warner Brothers said Tuesday, making it the latest studio experiment with an on-demand release during the pandemic shutdown. Scoob had originally been set to open in theaters on May 15th. Had originally been set to, oh wait, I just read that. But instead, on the same date, it'll be available for $20 digital rental and $25 for digital purchase. So, am I excited about this movie? No. Do I care about seeing this movie for $25? Absolutely not. I would have seen it for my AMC A-list for free, but I'm not going to spend money to see it. Actually, no, that's not true. We'll probably watch it because we review new releases. So that kind of backfires on my whole spiel. But man, like, honestly, this is a good thing. I don't think a lot of people would have seen this in theaters, just like Trolls 2. I don't really know what the audience is, but having this released on digital, I mean, okay, like, do we need another prequel about the Scooby-Doo gang? Maybe some people might be asking for it. George, let me go to you first because I know you actually liked the trailer a few months back when it dropped. So what do you think of this whole story?
Well, I'm excited to see like a 3D style Scooby-Doo. So this is, for me, I think this is going to be really cool. I mean, especially since the maybe it was all the trailers I was watching at the same time, because I mean, like, there were some really good trailers right around that, because I think it was there was Sonic, there was the SpongeBob movie, and this, and I don't know. I was just getting so hyped on all these trailers. But I do really like this one because it has, in the trailer for this, it has one of my favorite songs in it from Avicii. So I would have to say that I'm definitely interested. I don't know what kind of quality it's going to be or how funny it'll be, but I'm definitely going to end up watching it just because of that.
Yeah, I mean, the SpongeBob trailer is the one movie that I hope they release on demand because I really like all the SpongeBob. I mean, I like the TV show, but I've liked all the movies so far as well. Shannon, what do you think of this story? Anything that interests you?
Dog movies are my least favorite genre. I can't stand dog movies, so I'm not excited for this. But I will say the trailer made me laugh with their IKEA joke. I did laugh at the trailer. So at least it's doing something different than most dog movies do, like a boy and his dog movies. And I know the dog won't die at the end, so that's a plus.
That is true. This dog movie ends with a happy ending. Lassie or whatever the old those old dog movies where
Old Yeller.
Old Yeller and all dogs go to heaven or whatever. All
Marley
like
and Me.
Marley and Me. Oh my gosh, so depressing. I like that
My
movie.
Dog
But
Spot.
oh my gosh, you can just keep naming
A
lists.
Dog's Life, A Dog's Purpose. They go on and on and on. There's like 3 or 4 of them a year. I hate all of them. They're terrible.
But who doesn't like Scooby Doo? I mean, like they're not really dog movies. They're cartoons of this crime-solving teenagers with a dog. They're I wouldn't really call these a dog.
I have a feeling this one is going to be a dog movie. It's
Scooby Doo's mom dies, and the what's his face who adopts him.
It's going to be Shaggy and Scooby, a
Shaggy,
boy
thank you.
and his dog getting to know each other.
That's
going
to
be the
know
whole movie.
you.
and then they get to know the gang. I always thought they were siblings, by the way, but they're not. And then they get to know the gang, and then that's it. And they're gonna solve a fake mystery with the guy that's gonna say, "Oh, I could have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those crazy kids." And then your kids will be entertained for 2 hours, and then you can go home and sleep. I'm not really looking forward to it.
I'm gonna put money down just because you said that. Scooby Doo's mom dies in the movie, and that's
I
why.
don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think they're gonna kill any dogs in this movie.
Mm.
But I
there has
do
to be a
think,
reason for him to get adopted by Shaggy, right?
I do say there's one thing that could win me over to this movie. If they design a really cool haunted house, I'm down for anytime there's a haunted house in a movie, like I'm down. Like a fun haunted house, not a real haunted house. But
No, a real haunted house. No.
No, if there's like a Clue haunted house or like an Addams Family haunted house, like a fun cartoon haunted house, I'm down. They never went too far enough with it in the cartoon for me.
Yeah.
Like they were always in the same house in every episode, basically. Like it was a long hallway with some paintings that eyes moved. But if they can design a really cool one for this movie, then I'm in. I will watch that.
All right. Well, George, do you have anything else to add by chance to what we were talking about?
No, not really, but I am excited to watch it.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll keep you guys posted. For those interested, May 15th is when it was going to get released in theaters, and now you'll be able to purchase it on demand, on digital, May 15th. Okay, let's talk about Mortal Kombat, which was the other movie release. I'm going to take a little bit of a break from talking because I can talk Cthulhu to death. George, why don't you start us off with Mortal Kombat this time with your review?
Okay. All right. So with Mortal Kombat, a few days ago I decided I was gonna sit down and watch this movie. Okay, and I've watched the video game stories. I've watched some of the other movies. I believe I've seen them, the Mortal Kombat movies, and so I was sitting down thinking this would have basically just an action bloody, gory kind of movie. Well, it was a lot more bloody and gory than I thought, and a lot less real action.
Once a generation, the finest warriors must do battle to decide the fate of their realm. I, Shang Tsung, welcome you to Mortal Kombat.
If Shao Kahn wins this tournament, Earth as you know it will cease to exist.
Let Mortal Kombat begin!
I will win this tournament. Let's see what you've got.
What is it you want?
To seek my revenge.
So, it was a bit of a.
You played the video game? All that action and fighting sequences are over the top. Like you can take somebody's spine out of their back and do a fatality with their spine ripped out. I mean, of course it was going to be.
I knew it was going to be pretty graphic, but I mean, there was just, it wasn't. I don't know. I think maybe if they had done it as a 3D movie, I would have come across it a little better. But seeing it 2D, blood splatters everywhere, I'm like, this is so fake. I couldn't take it. So
when I read your, I gotta say this. I actually forgot until you mentioned it. When you texted me and you said, I started watching this movie and my poor mom was near the television when you played it. I kid you not. I fell off the sofa laughing so hard, and I was just like, what were you thinking, dude? I know you knew what Mortal Kombat is. Why would
George's mom is like the most devout, sweet Catholic woman I've ever met, and loves Christian movies, and like her favorite movie is like Prayer Closet or whatever, War Room. I love your mom, but this is not the movie for her.
I was like, George, why would you do that to your poor mother? It's like the bloodiest opening I have ever seen in any animated movie. And I've seen the bloodiest movie. The opening is just so over the top gory that I was just like, when I saw your text, I was just like horrified for your mother. I was like, your poor mom.
It was, yeah, that was an interesting start to it, for sure. For sure. Actually, at that point in time, I couldn't even finish watching it while she was there. I'm like, I can't keep watching this. There's too much. Literally the whole time, all I'm hearing is people screaming, bones cracking, and just like spurting out everywhere. It was terrible. It was terrible. So then I finally got a chance to watch it a little bit later, and I was able to make it through the whole movie. But I would have to say that the previous Mortal Kombat movies, I think, were actually much better than this one. This one, it's like they tried to take Mortal Kombat and turn it into anime, and it didn't mesh right. So some of the issues I had was, okay, so like I'm cool with all the Mortal Kombat scenes, how they show all the bone crushing and like blood going everywhere and stuff like that. But the problem is that with the way it was animated in this, it didn't look realistic enough in my opinion. And maybe they weren't trying to have it look all that realistic, but it was really disappointing for me watching like previous versions and seeing like all the finishing or all the fatalities and stuff like that in Mortal Kombat. So like this was very, very, very different for me, and I just wasn't able to take it very well. What were your thoughts on it, Fahad?
So I actually agree with everything you're saying. The only thing I'd like to add is some just background information, and I'm not even going to do a spoiler for this because I just don't care enough. But I might just go into spoilers at the end and just share like 30 seconds of spoilers, but really I feel no need to. This movie had a very simple purpose. It was trying to remake the first Mortal Kombat movie into an animated form. First Mortal Kombat movie from the 90s is a cult classic. I have watched the 90s live action Mortal Kombat movie more times than I can possibly imagine. The second movie, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, is one of the worst movies ever watched in history while being complete trash. One, they just tried to remake a classic 90s live action
Seek
movie.
my revenge.
Two, it's from the point of Scorpion.
Get over here!
Okay, I guess that's how you wanted to say the backstory. Third, I don't mind the gore stuff. It's just like it's about a bunch of people trying to invade the tournament with troops and doing 50 other stupid things that had nothing to do with Mortal Kombat. Why would you do that? You could have easily just made an animated version of the game. You added so much. The tournament itself is like, what, 2 rounds altogether? Like, there's less Mortal Kombat in a movie called Mortal Kombat. It's like calling something Space Odyssey and it's about plants. I don't know. Like, it just, the name of the movie is Mortal Kombat. It's a tournament of people fighting one another and trying to kill each other or not killing each other. Not everyone is evil in the combat. Some people are just like, you know what, if you lose, I'll let you live. The game has a really easy setup. Some people are there for other purposes, like Scorpion. He's there for revenge. Makes complete sense. And you're like, okay, cool. Like Scorpion, his family got butchered. He wants revenge. Anybody in a situation with what happened, we're all about revenge is bad. Forgive and forget. You watch that opening and you're like, no, Scorpion, go murder that dude because your family got butchered, like straight up. And I get it. Like I was like, okay, so that's cool. Like I'm following that, but it couldn't even deliver the simple premise of Mortal Kombat. And I was so upset about that. And like there's just so much about this movie that I just was so disappointing. I can't even give this movie like 5 or like 6 out of 10. I'm giving this movie like 3 because it had one simple. I didn't watch the trailers. When I heard they were making Mortal Kombat into an animated movie, I was excited. I played the games. I know the stories. I watched the live action movie. I still watch the live action movie. It's so stupidly bad. It's great. But like you. It just, why are you remaking the live action movie? And then when you're making the remake of the first live action movie, why aren't you putting tournaments in it and making this weird subplot about troops coming to invade the tournament and some other thing, I guess, to stop the end of the world? I don't even know. I zoned out for most of it because I thought it was so dumb and retarded. Maybe George can tell me what the whole troop subplot was, because I was just like, go back to the tournament. So for me, it's like 3 out of 10. George?
For me, it was probably like around a 4 out of 10, just because I appreciate that they were trying to make something out of it. But with that noted, I was disappointed in the fact that they had no excuse for bringing in the Black Dragon. There was no reason. I don't know.
There's so much that doesn't make any sense to why they're doing what they're doing. It like, who directed this and why did you direct it this way? What?
It was basically like they were just trying to, like I've seen different compilations of the different matches, where it's like every person versus every other, or like every character versus every other character, and the different fatalities and stuff like that. Well, it kind of seemed like they were just trying to draw off on that and just kind of like throw random people into random spots and just kind of like, so you got to see different mix-ups of them, even though they're it was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. But yeah, it was, I guess if you're into Mortal Kombat, maybe watch this. If you're not, definitely don't. But
I would
yeah,
say if you're into Mortal Kombat, go watch the 90s movie or go play the video game. Do not touch
yes.
this movie with the yardstick.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, we're going to move on. Shannon, did you have anything to add about what we're talking about?
Well, I did not see this movie, so I haven't seen the original, I haven't seen this, and I haven't played the game, so nothing to add.
All right, so for our next movie, we're doing one that I saw a long time ago. Shannon might have watched it more than me recently, and George just saw it for the first time today. It's called I, Tonya. It stars Margaret Robbie, and who plays the mother? I forgot the actress's name. I know her, I just forgot her name.
Allison Janney. She's
Allison Janney.
amazing in this.
She's amazing in The West Wing. If nobody's seen The West Wing, definitely check it out. And yeah, this is a movie that I did not like because I don't care for anybody in this movie, including Tonya Harding. I don't like what she did. I don't like her mother or what she did to Tonya Harding. Nothing about this movie makes me feel like I'm watching a good story about redemption or anything like that. All I see is a story of crazy people who are somehow involved with the Olympics, and they're bad.
The haters always say, Tonya, tell the truth. There's no such thing as truth. Everyone has their own truth.
I was the best figure skater in the world at one point in time.
You call that a clean skate? Stop talking to her. That girl is your enemy.
Who's that?
Jeff was my first date ever. And my mom came.
You need to see a wholesome American family.
I don't have a wholesome American family.
Nothing's ever your fault. I was embarrassed for you.
My entire life, I've been told I wouldn't amount to anything. And you know what? Maybe I would.
That's how I sum up this movie, and I haven't seen it in over 2 years, so I don't remember majority of it. I was angry watching this movie. I didn't care about none of these characters, and they're real, so it pisses me off even more. These people actually exist in real life. I thought Margaret Robbie and Alison Brie did a fantastic job, no question. They're doing great acting, but outside of that, I don't like this movie. Let me throw it over to Shannon first, because it's one of her favorite movies, and she can explain to me why I'm wrong, I guess.
Okay, all right. Let me tell you why you're wrong. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Don't fall asleep on me. I'm gonna wake you up. I'm about to explode all over this movie. When I saw this, I saw it in theaters in 2018, I think. And I liked it in the theater, and then I don't usually watch movies twice, but this one I was like, I gotta see it again. I watched it again a few months later. The second time I saw this movie, I fell in so much love with this movie that it became a problem, like an obsession. The only other movie that I've watched more times than this one is Prince of Egypt. I had an obsession phase with Prince of Egypt. But this movie, I've seen it 11 times now, and I will definitely be watching it 12, 13, 14. I love it. It's so great. I remember just probably a year before this movie came out, I got up early for work one day, which is unusual, and I put on a documentary on Hulu about Tonya Harding, which I didn't know anything about her at the time. I vaguely remembered being alive when I was 3 or 2. All this stuff happened. By the way, we live in Detroit. The big incident happened right here at Cobo Hall. I don't think we need to avoid spoilers for this movie since it's well-known history.
Give like your initial thoughts just in case, because you said something very interesting that you have to remember. Some people were not alive, or they were too young to really know.
Okay, then I'll leave it out then. So I learned the history from the documentary, and I remember being like, wow, this Tonya Harding, I really like her. She might be a bad person, but in the interviews, like, she's so likable. Like, go watch her interview on Ellen. Go watch her interview on when she was younger, and they did a documentary about her going to the Olympics. Like, she is this feisty, funny, like, very strong-willed, competitive person who's been through hell in so many ways in her life. She's had an abusive mother. She has the media out to get her. She's had the ice skating coach, all the stuff, just like her. She grew up poor. Her dad left when she was young. Like, everything that could go wrong in her life has gone wrong.
Entire life, I've been told I wouldn't amount to anything. And you know what? Maybe I would.
4.8.
How do I get a fair shot here?
We also judge on presentation.
We're gonna need to even the playing field. I know a guy, shouldn't even be saying his name. Derek.
The press wanted me to be the pile of crap. I never did this.
What is going on?
We're with the FBI.
They know something.
What can you tell us about Tonya Harding?
I don't know a Tony Harding.
Aren't you her bodyguard?
When I was a kid, did you ever love me?
I made you a champion, knowing you'd hate me for it. That's the sacrifice a mother makes.
You cursed me. America. They want someone to love, but they want someone to hate. I mean, come on. What kind of friggin' person bashes in their friend's knee? Who would do that to a friend?
Nothing more that could go wrong for her. And instead of lying around and moping about how her life is hard, she goes out and she says, I am going to prove to all of these people, and she said this in interviews, that I'm the greatest figure skater in America. Like, I'm going to make something of myself, despite what all of these people think of me, despite the fact that I'm a loser, despite the fact that everybody hates me. I'm going to prove them wrong. And the way she proves them wrong is she goes out and she does this ice skating trick that no other female figure skater in the history of American Olympics has ever done. And that's not like the first hour of the movie, so I'm not giving away, that's not the spoiler for this movie. That's just well-known history that Tonya Harding is an Olympics figure skater. And the way that they tell the story, the cinematography, the acting, the plot, the way that they go about leaving this open for interpretation to the audience, I thought was so unique and so well done and so different. I fell in love with it, and I've watched it 11 times now. I also love the soundtrack. I think they did an incredible job picking out the soundtrack. I guess I like a good misfit story. I always felt like a misfit growing up, which I know is cliche and everybody says it, but it was very true for me. And I relate to her so much, and I think they just did such a good job telling this story. Margot Robbie knocks it out of the park. Allison Janney knocks it out of the park.
Did Margot Robbie get nominated for an Oscar? I know Alison Brie won the Oscar, right, for that year.
Allison Janney, you mean?
Allison Janney
I
won.
don't know.
I think she won the Oscar.
I think I remember this
year.
getting snubbed at the Oscars, but I'm not sure because I remember like thinking this needed to win all of the awards and it didn't. You can also go in and watch some of the ways that they did filming. They invented new devices and ways to like angle the camera during the ice skating. They had to have an ice skater with a camera on the ice. This movie has more figure skating in it than any other movie ever made. That's a fact. Like more figure skating scenes than any other movie. It's incredible. Like I can't say enough good things about this movie. I would recommend, despite the fact that Fahad and George didn't love it the way that I did, just go watch this movie. Decide for yourself whether you're gonna like it, and watch one of the documentaries too. Like go back and watch a Hulu documentary. I think there's one called On Thin Ice. There's one called The Truth and Lies. There's a ton of them. There's a ton of documentaries about Tonya Harding because the history that happened with her, without going into spoilers, was so big at the time. It was all anyone was talking about. And I really want to jump into spoilers, but before we do, George, what were your initial thoughts on this movie?
Okay, so my initial thoughts on this were it was interesting because I know you guys said you absolutely could not stand the mom in this movie, but
I wouldn't necessarily say that for myself.
Really? Okay, because
yeah,
I thought
we'll
you guys
into
had,
that. No,
okay.
We'll go into that for sure.
So I could see, and from the film and everything, you know, she obviously was abusive, and she's over there like seeming to give quite a hard time to Tonya in it, but at the same time it's like she knew what drove her, so it was almost like creating some of that resistance actually helped her push further, because she's like, if I hadn't like essentially told you you weren't capable of doing it, you would have just lived a normal life, you know. And I kind of looked at that and I was pretty shocked, and I was like, you know what, that's there's probably a lot of truth to that, you know. Sometimes people pushing you, saying that you're not capable of things, makes you really feel like you need to prove them wrong, and so you push yourself a lot more.
There's no doubt that Tonya Harding was motivated by people telling her she couldn't do it. There's no doubt. If you go back and watch the documentaries, you go back and watch this movie. So there's a lot of back and forth between her and her mom in this movie, where Tonya Harding is saying, like, Mom, did you even love me growing up? Did you even care about me? Like, you were nothing but mean to me, and you were abusive to me. And her mom says, I sacrificed for you. Like, I'm not baking apple brown betties for you. What the exact words was, I pushed you to be your best, knowing you would hate. I made you a star, knowing you would hate me for it. That's what a mother's love looks like. And you can go a couple different. The movie does not tell you how to think about that. That's what I like about this movie too. It does not spell out the moral for you. You can either say, wow, the mother did make a sacrifice and I can kind of see where she was coming from, or you can say, it doesn't matter, it wasn't worth it. Tonya could have been a normal kid and it would have been better for her to have a normal life with a loving mother. So there's a lot of gray area there, and I love movies that leave me gray area to think, because I honestly have a hard time telling you which one is the what would I do in that mother's shoes. Like, obviously I wouldn't be the abusive mother. I would push my kid to do well in a different way. But for this mother who didn't have any money, didn't have any means to help her daughter succeed, couldn't pay for school, couldn't pay for college, the only way this kid was going to get out of that lifestyle was if she became a star. So the mother, the only way she motivates her, the only way she knows how. So I'm not justifying it. It's a bad thing to do. However, it gives you insight into this mother's mind, and you start to understand how she was justifying her, and it was wrong behavior. It was, but you start to understand how she was justifying it. And the movie does not tell you what to think. It leaves it up to you.
Okay, that was actually a good, I'm glad I got you guys to just talk, because I didn't want to interrupt you guys, to get your viewpoint. Now, here comes my viewpoint as to why I don't like this movie. So, first and foremost, to answer the question, Margot Robbie was nominated for Best Supporting Actress for Tonya Harding. Well deserved. She didn't win it, but she was nominated. She was also nominated for Bombshell, which she is in it for 5 minutes.
She's
for Best
not
Supporting
a
Actress.
lead actress in that. She should have won it for I, Tonya. Who won it that year? Do you know?
I don't know.
She should have won it.
But that was a tight year. There's some really good performances. I'm not saying Margot Robbie didn't do a good job. This is a movie that proves that she's headed towards an Oscar win. At some point, Allison Jane did win it for Best Supporting Actress. I think she beat Margot Robbie in the same category. They were both nominated for Best Supporting Actress, and Allison Jane beat Margot Robbie for the Oscar, which well deserved.
Well deserved. She transforms. You can barely tell the difference between Allison Janney and the actual footage of the mom at the end of the movie when they show both side by side. You can barely tell who's who.
Right.
Oh, I just wanted to note that Margot Robbie actually produced this movie. Like, this movie was made to promote Margot Robbie into stardom.
Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. She was Margot Robbie was nominated for Best Actress, not Supporting Actress, which she lost to. But Allison Jane did win for Best Supporting Actress. Anyways, long story short, just wanted to get that cleared before I move on. Second thing, okay. I have a professor in college who is a very much a sympathizer with what's happened to the Palestinian people and what happened to Middle Eastern people, and how America has invaded Iraq, and how Middle East in general, including Africa, have just been devastated by the wrongdoers of...
That is not where I was expecting you to go with this review.
No, but it does connect. But he says one thing that has really stuck with me. He says, all of this could have been the movement like Martin Luther King Jr., or Gandhi, another example, of someone taking a bad situation and doing something horrible and making it good. And that's what people want to see. I'm not saying what's happened to Tonya Harding by her mom and the abusive relationship wasn't wrong. I think we can all agree that it's wrong. What's happened to the Middle Eastern people, to African Americans and Africa by the American government and other powers, Britain, colonization of India and Africa and all that stuff, and the Catholic Church, which way back in the day did some horrible things, but of course they've changed as well, and the Catholic Church is not like that today, so not judging any Catholics. The thing is, you can take a bad situation and make it worse for yourself because you won't get any sympathy. Tonya Harding is a great skater, but she didn't have to do what she did without going into spoilers. I can't really talk about it. Again, that's spoilers.
We got to jump into spoilers because to this day, we do not know if she did it or not. We have no idea.
And O.J. Simpson didn't murder his wife. Yeah, okay, I get it. So the point is...
we don't know. We legitimately don't know.
We do know. There's no way we don't. Of course she did it. Okay, anyways, let me just...
she was involved.
Okay, fine. But let me just finish my thought. Fine, you don't want to believe she did anything wrong. That's your call. I'm on the other side of that because I've done the study on the other side where I grew up watching the thing live at the Olympics because I was alive then to be able to see it as a kid. But
So was I.
Yes, but you're saying that she might not have done it, but everything in the movie and the documentary proves Tonya Harding is definitely capable of doing something like that. There's no way she was not capable of doing something. That's why, like, when people say
Capable doesn't mean she did it.
capable means she probably did it, but none of us. It's like Carol Baskins. I don't know if Carol Baskins killed her stupid husband, but I'm pretty sure she killed her husband. So, I'm just saying, like, evidence is against her, just like any other person. My point is, my professor said it best. You can take a horrible situation and you can get sympathy from everyone as long as you don't do the same thing the person that hurt you did. So, yeah, what happened in the Middle East? Bad. Becoming terrorists and killing innocent people who had nothing to do with committing terrorism? Bad. And now you've lost all sympathy because nobody cares that America invaded Iraq and Iran and every other place, Kingdom Come, in Afghanistan and all that stuff, because nobody cares now because you became the threat. Now the story is you're a terrorist. You deserve it. The story isn't, oh, poor you, I can't believe that happened. There are ways to go around doing certain things. People are naysayers. I mean, when I can name 5 different ways and through my childhood to even now today, when I started Geekdom Movies. How many people did I get messages from who were like, oh, Fahad, nobody cares what you think. Nobody's going to join your stupid movie channel thing. Nobody's going to watch your YouTube. And you just let the naysayers be and you just keep moving forward. And that's how you prove them wrong. Now, even though I for certain don't know if Tonya Harding did it, she is capable. And she does come off, even from her interviews, a bitch. And that's me saying it the nicest way possible. And that's my reason to not like this movie, because I'm not rooting for her. I'm not rooting for her mom. I want her to fail now because of that situation and who she became. What her mom did was wrong. Nobody can disagree with that. Everybody's on the same page as that. But Tonya Harding, no matter what she went through, could have been the better person. And because she's not the better person, just like these terrorists, not that she's a terrorist, she does not get sympathy now. She does not get the recognition that she could have gotten. Lance Armstrong, great biker, decided to cheat and stick himself with steroids, lost all of his positions. And like who he was, the role model that he was. Tiger Woods, one of the best golfers we had. His story. Now you lose less sympathy and less people care about you. You cannot change the fate of your actions still count. Just because something terrible happened to you does not mean you should do something terrible back. Even if she didn't cause, let me finish, 1 second, I'm almost done. When Tonya Harding's, even from the interviews and how she came off and how horrible she was to the other skaters and how her behavior was, even without the incident at Cobo Hall, I'm just going to say, I'm not rooting for this woman. I'm not cheering for this woman. I'm not on her side for this woman. This woman is a terrible person, and so is her mom. That's my final thought. George, it's all you. I just wanted to get all of that out so I can finally shut up.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is Tom Brady and his deflated balls too. So
another one. Thank you. I appreciate that.
But good news that I hear is that Tom Brady is moving down to Tampa Bay with Gronkowski. So actually, he might be back in for another Super Bowl.
Both U of M graduates played together in college. U of M represent. That's right. Okay, anyway, sorry. You got me excited. I was reading about that yesterday.
I'm so excited about that too. It's the only good news in sports right now. So, yeah, this movie I definitely thought was interesting. I don't know what to make of Tonya Harding and her position in it. And I think maybe that's the reason why I actually probably preferred the mom's position throughout it, was because I don't know what Tonya was really doing, and they don't really make that extremely clear in that film in regards to, like, I mean, they show that she seemed to have some knowledge that something was going to happen to this other skater, but at the same time the way she goes and turns around so quickly is kind of like, wait, what? You're just trying to bury your own people, essentially. It's what it seemed like she was trying to do. And so because of that,
and there are
yeah,
different sides of the story, even in the documentaries that I've watched and other sides. There's very different tales of what actually happened and conflicting storylines of that one story. Yes, the movie has one objective and it's selling you that one objective in
it
some way,
doesn't.
shape, or
I gotta
form.
jump in because, okay,
Let George
in
finish.
spoilers now, guys.
Let George finish. I was just
Yeah,
replying
go
to him for a
ahead.
second.
all right. So that being said, I think we can all agree that our bodyguard was definitely doing something. But
That's proven, yeah.
yeah. So I would have to say that that being said, it did seem like her ex-husband was a rather manipulative person. All right, and definitely talked his way out of quite a few things. But yeah, she really essentially went and just completely buried him without, well, I don't know. This is a touchy subject. I don't want to get too much into it. So I guess
It
I
does
probably
get very
should.
political. You're right. The movie
Extremely,
gets very.
and
You can add in the Me Too movement. You can add in the
exactly.
harassment from her mom and the behavior of Tonya Harding before even the extent how she was and her behavior herself. There's
Yeah.
just so much conflicting things happening, and it's hard to really pinpoint. I do think I like Shannon. Some people like you, like George, you sympathize with the mom, while Shannon sympathizes with more with Tonya Harding. Well, I sympathize with nobody, and I think they're all terrible people, and that includes a Tiger King for me. But yeah, it is very political. I do agree.
Yeah.
So I don't think that this movie has the one objective you're talking about. This movie shows you all these different opinions that have on this topic. It shows you what the media was doing. It shows you what Jeff Galooey was doing. Shows you where Tanya's viewpoint was, the mom's viewpoint. It gives you all these different perspectives, and it really does leave it up to the audience to decide what happened and who's responsible. I do think Tonya Harding was involved in the sense that she knew something was happening, and she probably did intend to write a letter or do something, which all the girls were doing to each other at the time, and that was wrong. But I don't think that she intended to actually go out and hurt somebody. That happened, I believe, without her knowledge. And I do think that the punishment she gets at the end of this movie, where she's never allowed to skate again, which is all she's known her whole life, she can't do anything else to make a living, was not a fair punishment. And I do think that the media going way overboard with this story, because it was Tonya Harding versus the other skater at the Olympics. And it was basically like they turned her into this nasty redneck, and then they turned the other skater into this beautiful princess just for ratings, was wrong. I think the media is the real villain in this story. The media made Tonya Harding into this horrible creature into the eyes of the entire world. And there's a scene in the movie where Tonya Harding looks at the camera and says, "You were part of my abuse as well, because you bought into this media hype about how I was this horrible person. So you are one of my abusers as well." And that got to me in the movie, you know. And that's just showing Tanya's opinion. And if she really did do this, then that would be a fair thing to believe about her. But the facts are, we don't really know what happened. So we have to go off of her word, and we have to go off of what evidence we can find. Unfortunately, we'll never know what really happened. I don't think she's unlikable. I've watched a lot of interviews with her now, today. Like, she's doing very well. She landscaped. She has a child. She has no contact with her abusive mother. Like, she's a really good mom. I don't think that she has, not learned from this or not grown from it. I think she's gone on to become a really good person in the end. every interview I've seen her in, she seems really sweet, and she seems like a person I would hang out with, or a person that I'd like to be friends with. You know, and she was so young when this happened. She was like 21 years old, never had really had a lot of life experiences. She grew up so dirt poor, and all she knew was skating. All she knew was abuse, and she was abused from every angle except for her skating coach, who was the one nice person in her life. I think that there's just a lot to say about the nature of abuse and how it becomes a cycle. This movie's not telling you that what she did was good or okay, but I think it is saying, like, have some sympathy instead of just watching the news and seeing, oh shit, that's a bad person, and beating them down. Look into the person as a human, look at their story, look at them and have some humanity. And if we had all done that at the time, maybe we wouldn't have sentenced this woman to a life where she could never do the one thing she loved again, just because she had been involved in an incident at 21 years old, when she was so young and had gone through all of these hard things that she probably couldn't have even known better not to do it. So that's why I love this movie. I think it's very introspective, very deep, has a lot of layers of meaning. You can, like you guys said, you could go into the Me Too movement, you can go into abuse, you can go into politics, the media. Like, there is something for everyone. It has some great scenes in it, just some really funny moments, some really sad moments, some really heartfelt moments, some really intense moments. Like, I love the scene where she finally does her triple axel. It's just a fantastic scene with the look on her face and how they recreated this beautiful moment in her life where she was so happy. I could go on and on about this movie. We could talk about it for hours, because I'm gonna watch it again just because I've been talking about it now. It's a great movie. So anything else from you guys?
Yeah, the last thing I just wanted to say before we move on, and we've spent way too much time and we still got to get to another movie, is the media was never as bad as you think it was. That's the one thing I disagree with. The Olympics organization and the Olympics are one of the hardest, most tough people in the business of sports, and they don't play games. They don't care what you think. They don't care how bad they're being to you. When they learned that some of the Russian athletes in the last summer Olympics, they banned the entire freaking country. No Russian was allowed to come and do the sports. And yeah, people said half of these people had nothing to do with that doping stuff, and they said, we don't care. We're the freaking Olympics. We are higher than God as when it comes to sports. We're better than everybody, and our higher standards are because we've been here since the beginning of Rome and how the Olympics got started. They are that tough. The media only jumped on the story of the Olympics is because the Olympics decided to take it as far as they did. And there is another side to that story as well. She could have been innocent for all we know. Many people could have gone, but the Olympics will not play that game. They don't play the what if scenario. If they even get a scent if something is off, they will bring the law down and kick you out and not even care they ruined your life. They have always been like that, and they continue to be like that because they see themselves as who they are. They're in charge of the entire world, and their entire whole industry to do sports is for one reason, is to bring the world together, to compete in a way. They really do see themselves in that way. So you got to understand, the media, yeah, it played a part, but I think she was mostly just talking to the Olympics when she said that, because she knew that they were going to come down. And there's no way you don't know that. When you join the Olympics and you're approved, man, like, you get caught drinking or sleeping around, like, people have been kicked off the Olympic teams for that, for drinking too much, for messing around and doing all kinds of stuff. The last Olympics, like, freaking, what's his face? The swimmer guy, what's his name?
Michael Phelps.
It wasn't Michael Phelps. It was another American swimmer. I can't remember his name. But
the guy who got into like a brawl or something, and
that guy.
Yeah, that
and
was
guess what
crazy.
happened to him?
Yep.
So the Olympics don't play around. Everybody knows that. If you're working your ass off to get to the Olympics and you screw it up in that level, don't play that game. Same thing with Russia. Same thing with the Olympic swimmer guy. Like, come on, dude.
They didn't just kick her out of the Olympics. They meant she could never make money from skating ever. She couldn't even do
and that's how hard ass they are. Yes.
I don't think that was fair at all. That was her
Nothing they
entire
do is fair.
livelihood.
Half the people in Russia did not have anything to do with doping. They
I
told
don't
them
think
bye
that's
bye.
fair. I don't think they should do that.
Like that's they're their own entire organization. They are their own country. They're as powerful as FIFA. And I know we don't care about soccer here, but FIFA is its own country, and they will let you know how important that is. NFL is getting there slowly to the level of FIFA and the Olympics, but it's still not there yet because for some people, FIFA and the Olympics is basically God, and I'm not joking about that. So the other thing I wanted to add on a funny note, when I went to go see this in theaters, and I wanted to share this story earlier, but I never really had a chance to say it. I know we got to move on. I was sitting in a theater with a friend of mine who actually does do hockey and ice skating and all kinds of other things. So he was excited to see I, Tonya. And he was telling me more about this movie than I even knew. So he like studied Tonya Harding. We were sitting in the theater, and there was a guy behind us, and there was a moment in the movie where there was like a pause or no sound, and this guy ripped the biggest fart I have ever heard in my entire life. And me and my friend had to run out of the movie theater because we felt so bad and we couldn't stop laughing. We couldn't even go back in. We actually found another seat because we felt so terrible. And I just had to share that story. Because he was probably waiting for the best time to fart, and he ended up farting. When there was like a 5-second no sound, and it was just you could literally hear it echo through the movie theater, and everybody we ran out. So there's 15 minutes of movie that I just want to put a disclaimer. I have no idea what happened because I was laughing too hard, and I ran out the movie theater. But I did finish.
I think you need to watch it again.
No,
I did like it better the second time, and then every time I watched it, it got better.
But see, again, that's the thing. I agree with the Olympics. I want them to be as hard as they are. I agree that Russia should have been kicked out. I agree that swimmer should not be allowed to come back. The Olympics are a family-friendly, no game kind of system. They are made their target audience that you're not allowed to do drugs. You're not allowed to drink and do stupid stuff and get into fights. You're not allowed to cheat. You're not allowed to do a lot of things. And you signed that contract when you say it. I don't feel bad for Russia at all. You know what system you're playing in the game of. There's other things you can do. But if you want to play the Olympic Games, you want to be part of the Olympic standard of worldwide sports of coming together, you have to have that type of standard. You can't.
And they show that in the movie. They talk about that in the movie. She runs up to one of the judges and she says why won't you guys give me the good scores based on just my skating? And they tell her that you don't have a wholesome American family, and that's why you will never be successful.
Yeah.
And she says, well, I don't have a wholesome American family. How do you expect me to get that? It's impossible. And that's so unfair because that is something her image, her clothing, her makeup, her hair, that's something that she did not have control over at that time.
She did, though.
She only had control.
That's not why they did it.
She didn't have control over how her mother acted, her wholesome American family. She couldn't control that aspect of her life. And that's part of why she was kept down in the world of figure skating. And she wasn't allowed to succeed because of it, which is completely unfair. And actually, thanks to her, eventually they did open up a lot of things. So you can play something other than classical music now. And she was the first innovative skater to skate to rap music and ZZ Top, and Jurassic Park was a big one. So she opened up a lot of doors.
Those are all good things, and I don't disagree with that. But I also know the Olympics have a very high standard. A lot of these countries are poor. She's freaking white privileged Tonya Harding. A lot of these countries who are coming in don't have half the amount of things.
She was not.
Again, my point is,
privileged.
She might not have been privileged, but a lot of these people didn't do what Tonya Harding did. They're coming from poor countries and have to follow the same standard as her. There is no line there. You cannot make acceptance for one person and say the other person can't do it. That's
the
stupid.
problem was that they were judging her on her clothing and her family rather than her actual performance.
Not that hard. If you watch the documentary, she had opportunities to get all the stuff. Olympics will literally buy it for you. They will put up the funding just like they do for third world countries to get you the uniforms and get you whatever you need to get to compete. They're part of that system.
But she couldn't fix her family. she kept going back to Jeff.
They could have just banned her mom. It wasn't that difficult.
Couple.
Right. So
no,
ban your mom.
There was some things that were beyond her control. Like the clothing, yeah, maybe she could have fixed some of that up. And she does in the movie, like she stops wearing the blue nail polish and stuff. But there were some things that were unfair. Like she couldn't control her family.
You cannot.
That was not fair to her.
Right. You cannot be part of that system of what that Olympics do, and you can find ways around it. People do it all the time. To ways to get over it, and the Olympics actually helps you get through it. Her mom is a psychopath. I don't know why she wasn't just banned, period, from attending those games or any games for that matter. It would have just saved everybody a lot of trouble, but nobody's other parents did what Tonya Harding's parents do. So, you know, it was something that they've never seen before and they had to deal with it. Did they go too harsh? Maybe, maybe not. But we got to move on. We can talk about this all day. This is a very politically devised movie. George, I'm going to throw it off to you because I feel like you have to say something before I move on.
Okay, looks-wise, just real quick, doesn't the actual Tonya Harding look way more like Amy Adams than Margot Robbie?
Like Amy Adams?
Tonya Harding.
Yeah, I could see that.
I'm going to Google it. Hold on.
Yeah, I could see that in her face. Definitely.
Oh, you're right. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Check that out.
Yeah, I gotta screen share this because I didn't. Wow, good find, dude.
That was the first thing I thought of, like, at the end of the movie. I'm like, wait a minute. Because, like, yeah, it was.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm trying to find. It should have. I don't think she wanted to be in it. But yeah, you're right. She looks so much closer to.
Yeah, right there.
That's a good one right there. They look exactly alike. Wow. Are you guys seeing this on when I'm sharing it?
Wow, that is incredibly. Yeah, you're right. That's very close.
I guess she didn't want to be part of the movie. I'm guessing.
Well, this movie was produced by Margot Robbie. Margot Robbie was going to star in this movie no matter what. This movie was made for Margot Robbie to star Margot Robbie.
Yeah, well. Good find, George. I appreciate you. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Quarantine with your lovely Geekdom movie hosts, Shannon Gibson, George Bogdan, and the wonderful and beautiful Fahashatari. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we did have another movie we wanted to review, but the 3 movies we did just went a little bit too long. We're still going to do the review for Get Smart. We'll try to get to it next week. Please come back. For next week, we will be reviewing the new Netflix release, Willoughby's, and the classic animated film, Sinbad, The Adventures of the Seven Seas with Brad Pitt and Catherine Zeta-Jones, who was in it. And also Michelle Pfeiffer, who plays a witch, apparently. So that's exciting. Anyways, come back for that. Thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful evening. Do you guys have anything final things to say before we sign off?
Watch Tanya. Sign up for Patreon. Like us on Google, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, hashtag Pinterest, whatever you've got. See ya.
All of the above. Guys. George?
Just have a safe week out there.
Where's your dogs? I want to see your dog once.
Oh, they went upstairs.
Oh. Well, maybe next time. All right, guys, take care.
Bye.
Bye. Look at Katala. Go watch Underwater and look at Katala. All right. Bye. Bye.